So hello and welcome to our first vodcast for VCAA English Flipped Out. So the purpose of these videos is for us to develop, more effective study habits and to therefore use our class time more effectively. So now's a good time to put your phone away, maybe tempted to check out your Clash of Clans base or something like that, and to get a pen, a highlighter possibly, and also to have your English books handy. So today I'll be looking at the requirements for Unit 4 English, and just to familiarise ourselves with the expectations of what we need to do to get ready for our study of the war poems. So in front of us now we do have the PDF of the VCAA course requirements, and you can also find this on the VCAA website, or you can also find the PDF also in our Schoology course under our resources. So the idea of what we need to do is to get an understanding of the terminology and also the keywords that VCAA uses, so that we can have an understanding of what we need to do to prepare for our first SAC. Now just be aware, our first SAC in semester 2 for Unit 4 English on the poetry is worth 50 marks. Yes, that's right, 50 marks. It's worth 50% of our study score for Unit 4, so it's really important that we are familiar with what we need to do and to have some practice in analysing the poems. So let's have a look at Area Study 1, Reading and Responding. And it really builds upon our study last semester of Year of Wonders, where we need to identify, discuss and analyse the structures, features and conventions of a range of texts. So we're lucky in the poetry that it's quite obvious what the structure is of the poetry, whether it's a sonnet versus writing a ballad in terms of talking about the stanzas and so forth. And really also you can identify the features and conventions. And we know, and we should be experts in this, that no matter what type of essay that we have to write, where it's looking at a thematic-based question or a character-based question, that we must include some discussion of these conventions. So we need to be aware of poetic techniques, and we'll go over these in coming videos and of course in class. So once we have an idea of the structures, features and conventions, we need to look at how these elements have been chosen by authors in order to construct meaning and how they affect interpretation. Okay, so we need to look at developing our interpretation of these poems. What do they actually mean? What's some of the ideas that Owen is trying to express within them? And then we need to back that up with, of course, our discussion of the structures, features and conventions. Something that's foregrounded in Unit 4 English in comparison to last semester is that focus on implied values embodied in text. And again, in our discussion of the poetry and Wolf and Owen in particular, these values are quite explicit. You can clearly identify Owen's, what he's trying to achieve in his poetry, what his ideas are. Okay, so after we look at the implied values embodied in a text, students examine the ways in which readers or viewers are invited to respond to the text. And then they develop and justify a detailed written interpretation of a selected text. Notice the idea of being detailed. Okay, so you need a thorough discussion of the poetry. Talk about lots of examples. You need to be, a good understanding of, varied, poems, not just focusing on one and two. Now this is all nicely summed up what we need to do in outcome 1. So on completion of this unit, the student should be able to develop and justify a detailed interpretation of a selected text. Notice how it also says detailed again. So again, just in summing up, in our discussion and analysis of the war poems, you need to identify and discuss the structures, features and conventions. You need to have a solid understanding of these poetic techniques, and you must talk about them in every essay that we write. We need to come up with an interpretation. Okay, an interpretation of the poetry. What do they actually mean? Okay, so what do these poems mean? What is your reading? you need to be aware of the values, okay, and then you need to put this all together in a detailed written essay. So that sums up our discussion of Unit 4 English. Hopefully be aware of what we need to do now in terms of our analysis of the poetry, and that we can get straight into it and having a good discussion of the poems, and also get ahead in our preparation for our first SAC. And I look forward to seeing you in class tomorrow.